What up, what up, what up, what up, people? We are back for the second night in our educator salute, our educator spotlight. We're a Purpose and Practice podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Rawls Dill. And like I told you, we got like a lineup, man. We got a lineup. And tonight, the brother that we got is going to come with some fire that I know all of y'all going to really love and you're going to appreciate, especially you parents out there, you educators out there. Like I said, what we're trying to do here in the program is bring to you some educators who are making it happen and making it happen for especially those children who need it the most. A lot of our vulnerable students out there who need guidance, who need that extra support, who need those people in their corner who are pulling for them. So tonight we have a brother who, I go way, way, way back, even before being an educator. I knew this young man, good brother, man. Very, very solid brother. I remember, it seems like every step of my career, especially as an administrator, he has been like right there with me, and he has served in many roles, in many capacities. And I'm gonna let him, he's gonna talk a lot about, himself, but and we'll get into all of the things that he's done educationally and how important those things were to our children. So without further ado, Anthony Miller, how you feeling,
I'm
brother?
good, man. Good. Happy to be here, man. Happy to be a part. Kind of the honor that you would consider me for your program, man. It means a lot.
No doubt, man, no
Yeah.
doubt. Before people, it's people like you, Anthony. Your skill set, man, to me, and to I know the kids that you served and the parents and support that you've given over the years is very important, and we're going to talk a lot about it because I see you as an unsung hero, man. And we're going to get into that. One of the things though, before we get in, I want to just this Jacob Blake situation,
Okay.
bro. It's been on my mind. I'm sure that it's been on your mind heavy. I think that it's important that we we just address it. I see what the NBA is doing. I was like to see those games postponed or canceled or
Mhm.
whatever. I thought that was deep. But this thing, man, I don't know how you feeling right now, but as a black man, it's pressure. And a lot of folks, I think are afraid to kind of have these conversations, and for whatever reason, but it's real out here right now,
Mhm.
man. It's real. It's real out here right now. When I was up at it was Monday morning. We were driving to the hospital, and my wife was like, "You see this video?" And I didn't even. That was my first time seeing it,
Mhm.
and I'm like, "Hold up, what?" And I hear the shots, and I'm like, "Yo," and I'm getting to the point, and it's a bad situation, but I'm starting to feel. I don't know how you feeling, but I'm starting to feel almost numb. To
It's
this.
weekly.
It's like it's becoming
It's
such a
weekly.
norm.
It's
True.
weekly. So it's like um, I saw something floating around the internet that said police protect and serve, but now it's like comply or die. So the fact
Mm.
that every traffic stop that people like you and I are involved in could be that's it. It could end just like that. And it's like
True.
it's not even it's not even situations where they're trying to de-escalate them. Many
Mm-hmm.
times they're escalating the situation. So it's like
Yeah.
de-escalating the situation at worst, it should be one shot to the leg to stop him.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're that close to him, that one shot or a tase and I mean this is
Mm-hmm.
worse. Just be able to fight. If you can't fight, you shouldn't be a cop. But I'm just thinking worst case. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah.
highest level of
Yeah.
escalation that it should have been. Let's just say a bullet, just one to slow him down. not kill him. Not kill
True.
him. That's
True.
cold-blooded murder.
It's 7 shots. Like, I'm like, yo, and I'm like, yo, what's gonna stop this? And I know like the whole thing is Black Lives Matter. I'm just like, yo, Black
Yeah.
lives. Like, you know what I mean? Like Black lives, like, and I just and in our profession, what we do, and we're gonna get into a lot of how these roles play out even in school
Hmm.
settings. In terms of you mentioned a key word, de-escalation. And I know with your background, that's a big part of what you bring to the
Hmm.
table. So let's kind of get into sort of your background, man. Like, tell us a little bit, about you professionally, your experiences and the things that you have done in the educational realm.
All right. So I mean, I guess I'll start from the beginning. But before I start, I wanted to send like a birthday shout out to my mom. Today's my mom's birthday.
Oh, Miss Natalie, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to get some oxtails later. I'm going to
That's
celebrate.
what's
But
up.
happy birthday, mom. I
That's
love
what's
you.
up.
But speaking of my mom, so I grew up. I guess they call it, the old heads call it the jungle. Younger with the
Oh yeah,
bricks. Central
true.
Avenue, Garfield Court, 172 Garfield Court. That's where I grew up. Um, Single parent, raised by my mom, my grandma. Uh, had a younger brother, and that was it. So that's growing up, Long Branch public school system, all that stuff. Um, then like guys like you kind of gave me that interest to go into education, but I didn't know how I wanted to, so I was trying to feel my way around, and like you said, I've done
Right.
everything. So it's like the first, I'll say the range of students that I've worked with can be from severely handicapped, autism, behavioral, learning disability. I mean, there's not a student that I have not either had in my classroom or that I've worked with one on one. So it's like,
So, let me first of all let me back up a little bit because you shouted out. Was it Garfield Court?
yeah, Garfield Court,
What number was it?
172.
172 Garfield Court. Definitely shout out to Garfield Court. I was 110. I was in between 110 Garfield Court and then I was 82 Grant Court.
Hey, did you see?
So
Wait.
definitely
Did you
shout out.
see? I saw on Facebook. It said somebody posted something that said the dangerous street or the dangerous area between Long Branch and Asbury. So I'm reading the comments, and every comment about Long Branch was straight Central Avenue. So whether
Central
it
Ave.
was Grand Court, Garfield Court, and it's
Yeah,
like,
man.
man, I felt blessed and fortunate to be to grow up in the most dangerous part, of Long Branch, and just so. But
And that's one of the things that I want to touch on, man, because coming up, and you mentioned your mom, definitely shout out, to our black mothers and especially those who are doing the single life, the single family, the single parent households, shout out, man. Um, but you also talked about your brother. You talked about influences, man. But you talked about that with pride. Like it wasn't like this feeling of resentment. You sound proud. You sound proud about about that, man. Talk to us more about
I
that.
mean, if you, I mean, I'm proud to be black, right? I'm proud that I was taught to work for everything I have. So it's not like,
Mm,
I was raised to, what it's like to feel like what it's, eating out every day, having the newest Jordans or doing this or doing that. Great education, great, that's not how we grew up. But growing up, I didn't feel poor. You understand what I'm
mm,
saying? Like I had friends.
mm,
We played
right.
outside. We played inside. Like you know, my first time playing basketball was a hanger in my room,
True.
hanging it on the door. me and Greg had battles one on one. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like,
No, I
you
do.
know,
I
being
do.
grounded or on punishment, go in your room, playing,
That's it.
you know,
You
that,
got the sock? Hold up. Did you roll a sock up for it?
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Yeah, all of that. Fun time. No no games. She was back then it was
Yeah,
Super
man.
Nintendo and Sega Genesis. What? Natalie would unplug the game. It's a wrap. Everything's shut down.
It's over. You know, you said something that I think is really important, man. You said that we didn't know we were poor.
Mhm,
And like I felt that. When you just said that, like I and I don't know if it was because of the love, you know what I'm saying, that was in the home, in the love that was in the community.
mhm,
Or I don't know if it was that we just didn't know what we quote unquote didn't have.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
Like, but listen, I didn't realize, I probably didn't realize poverty until probably when I got to, I'm gonna say middle school, high
mhm,
school. That's when I started really understanding poverty. And I think a lot of that has to do with back when I was coming up anyway, we all went to neighborhood
mhm.
schools, right? So you went to the school that was in the same neighborhood that
You
you
can walk
lived
to
in.
school pretty much.
And yes, it wasn't a lot of busing going on,
Mhm,
right? So we were going to, I went to Leonard
mhm.
Conroe. I don't know if you went to
No,
Gregory
no
or you went to
power.
Leonard Conroe? Okay. So we were basically with the students who lived in this certain geographical
Mhm,
area. So we kind of knew each other and we knew what was what. Now when we got to the middle school, as you know, that's when all of the elementary schools spill into one
mhm,
school. So now it's like, all right, we getting hit with other groups who may have been in other
mhm,
schools. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? And maybe whether it was a West End school, whether it was an Elbron school, you know, like, and it start changing.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you start opening your eyes to different groups and different social economic
Mhm.
situations, you know. And so I think that, you know, when you said that, yo, we didn't realize we were poor. You know, that's deep, man. That's deep.
Yeah.
So you know, you said like you mentioned your younger brother.
Mhm.
You know, and shout out to Greg. You know, I've he's another brother I'm definitely going to have on the show. Um, what was it like? Because I also have a younger brother, and I'm interested to hear like you know what your experiences were like having a younger brother being big bro. You know what I'm saying? Like what was that like?
Man. Well, the Greg that is today wasn't the Greg that.
Oh, I know. I
Hmm.
know.
So Greg, man, I couldn't have asked for a better brother. Like, you know, they used to call us like Cain and Abel, like, you know, two figures from the Bible, because they fought. But
Uh
it was
huh.
cool for me and Gregory to fight, but nobody else better not touch me, or nobody
Mm,
else better not touch my
mm,
brother. So it's like we had our back,
mm.
we had each other's back, but us, man, we would fight like the Dickens. But
Yeah.
you know, today, I mean, like we're like close, man. Like we run business ideas off of each other. You know, we like it turned into a friendship. You know, and that
Yeah,
was,
man.
you know, if you put
That
two boys in a house, like all of that testosterone is coming up, and he's like 3 times the size of me. So it's like I always had to like, you know,
was he always that big? Like bigger than you?
it started once he got into like 8th grade, I would say. So I'm in high school, and
Uh-huh.
like 8th grade, this man, like I kind of got to look up a little bit. And I remember he would like put his hand on my head, or like, you know, I'm like, bro,
Yo.
what are you doing, man? But
Yo.
yeah.
Greg, man. I met Greg when I'm gonna say he was in 7th grade. It was my first year teaching, man. Like I had gotten a it was like a maternity leave job. So I was really like a full time substitute.
Mhm,
And Greg was in that group in 7th grade. And when I tell you, like, Greg gave me a run for my money, like, he gave me a run for my money. And how you just explained, like, you know, he put his hand, because I can really remember Greg putting his hand on my shoulder, and then he got those eyes, and he'll kind of look
Yeah.
at you with those
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah, man. And but like so much, like just life in that brother, and smart. You know, like I was able to work with him and teach and learn from him. Intelligent brother. You know, silly, but at that age,
We all are.
that's what's yes
Yeah.
that's what we're going to be, you know.
Mhm.
And you know, to see the great things that he's doing now, obviously a testament to him and the work that he's
Mhm.
done, but also to your family, you know. It's a testament to you as big bro.
Mhm.
It's obviously a testament to Miss Natalie, and it's also a testament to all of your supported family, man, in the community, for wrapping their arms and hands around both of y'all,
Yeah.
you know, for y'all to grow into the men that you are
Like you
today.
said, the community. It was the community because like it wasn't. I felt like a lot of times the old heads didn't even know our names. What they knew us by was those Natalie's son, those are
True.
Natalie's boys, or that
True.
you were named by your parents, or you were known by who your parent
Mm-hmm.
was. So it's like everybody. I mean it was a community thing. Like it was you know that's it.
That's
I
real,
wasn't
man.
Anthony. He
That's
wasn't
real.
Gregory. We were Natalie's sons,
Yeah.
Natalie's kids.
The
So,
Natalie's, yeah, those Natalie
yeah.
kids. Yeah. It's same here, man. Same here. So, like you said that, you know, you were inspired by maybe other
Yeah.
educators, you know, to get into education. But when you came into education, let's talk about how you came into education. Like, what was your route into education?
Um. So my route into education actually had a lot to do with you, as a matter of fact. So I had enough credits. I know I wanted to go into education, so I started at I went to Brookdale, and
Mm-hmm.
once I got enough credits, I wanted to sub to like get my feet wet or certain things like that. So they put me in the high school. Okay,
Mm.
some stuff was needed, and from that day on, like after the first day, when I came home and like my pits were sweaty, everything was. I was tired, bro. When I tell you, I was like,
True.
nah. But I never had anything that challenged me that much. And from that day on, I was like, yeah, this is definitely what I could see myself doing. So,
So you went the sub route,
hmm hmm
right? So you must not have been too much older than the students who you
no,
were substituting
mm-mm,
for, probably, right?
right. I was, yeah, maybe a few years, maybe, and so again, my first day there, I went to go get some food,
Uh
and
huh.
they thought I was a student, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not a student. I'm not here. So I was like, oh man. So
And were they? These are student. These are not students, but teachers who were probably your teachers.
yeah, a lot of them were. A lot of them were. So that was that was like kind of refreshing to see, like faces, and they would give me like encouragement,
Uh huh.
give me certain advice, because before I was just going into education, not special education. So like a few teachers like advised me to get special education, get as much of
Mm.
a wide spectrum of things to be able to service children better. So like
True.
if I'm just a elementary school teacher, then that's it. But if I
Mm-hmm.
get a special ed cert, then I can do K through 12 and anything. So
True.
that was one thing that
True. So when you started off as a sub, you did your thing as a sub. You realize, you know what? I want to be in schools. I want to be around young people. I remember when I became a
Mhm,
principal, you came on board and you were doing some hall
mhm,
monitoring for
mhm.
us,
Yep.
right? That was your role. Talk to us about, you know, how that experience, because here's I'm gonna just put this out here,
Mhm,
right? I believe educators are
mhm,
educators. If you're walking into a school building, whether you're the secretary, whether you're the custodian, whether you're a
mhm,
paraprofessional, whether you're a hall monitor or a school safety
mhm,
person, Whether you're in the cafeteria, working in the cafeteria, I don't care what capacity you're working in the
Mhm.
school, you're an
Yeah.
educator. So I don't differentiate between like, oh, he's a
Mhm.
custodian, like God bless my mother's a
Mhm.
custodian. God bless custodians. And I know the roles that everyone who's in that building play, in children. So you started, as a
Mhm.
substitute, which is critical as well. Then you start doing, safe school and security type of
Mhm.
thing, hall monitor. Tell us about those experiences and how those experiences may have helped you as an educator.
Well, it helped me because 2 years prior, I was the kid in the hallway. So it was like I was that guy, you know, playing around with, sap, just like all my boys, like,
True.
So it was kind of like, wait a minute, like I have to be an adult now, like I have to, really enforce this. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember giving some of the people like a hard time. So I'm like, wow, like payback is a mug. But
True.
um it really helped me build relationships with the students. So I feel like that was the foundation of where, I would end up, or start my experience, because building relationships with students before you can even teach context clues or slope intercept form or any of that
Mm,
stuff, if you can't
mm.
connect with the students, you're wasting your time. They're not hearing you. You might as well pack it up and go home.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because last night we had Felicia on the show. She was the first educator that we spotlighted.
Mhm.
And tonight she talked about
Okay.
relationships. And she had 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? And now here you are at the high school level when you were working with young people at one point, and you're talking about relationships, man. I think you know, I think there's not enough that we talk about in terms of taking time, because relationships take
Yeah.
time. You know, it takes time to build
Mhm.
them. It's not something that is just like, yo, you know what, we need to be cool. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like going through things and its ups and its downs. So if you had to kind of give advice to an up and coming educator who's trying to develop some real meaningful relationships with kids, what kind of advice would you give?
Um, for starters, it's rough because you have to set your standards, set your boundaries, set your guidelines. Because again, I'm only 2 years older than these students now, so
Mm,
setting that level of respect from gate. So I have to respect you first in order for you to
true.
respect me. I can't demand something from you that I'm not giving. So it's like, okay,
Mm,
I respect you. I want you to be the best student that you can be. This is how you can get here behaviorally, because I'm not even worried about the classroom. I just don't want you to get in trouble. Let's
mm,
get that straight. So if I could keep you out of the hallway, there's a way I can't
wow.
hey, get back in class. I need to find out or talk to you or speak to you with respect. So it's like, you have to, and like you have to be cool with them, but you can't be cool with them at the same time.
Mm,
Like, you see what I'm saying?
mm.
Like
Yeah,
we're not
yeah, I get
friends,
you.
but we can be cordial. So we can talk about, who the best rapper of all time is. Jay-Z,
Yeah,
my opinion.
yeah.
Back then, that was like the debate. You see what I'm saying? So it was like, yeah, if we're in the hallway, I'm taking you back to class because you should be in class. But while we're on our way back to class, what you're supposed to be doing, you're not even realizing that I'm redirecting you.
Put in that,
You
yes.
understand what I'm saying? By
Yeah.
talking
Oh,
about
listen,
something
I
that you're
know.
interested in, and by the time you realized where you were, boop, you were back in English class, being successful. Job done. So
Yes. Yes. And you did a few things in that whole situation, right? A, which I think is really important and sometimes we overlook it, you acknowledge things that were important to the young person,
yeah.
right? You went to a level where listen, they like, okay, this person may like basketball, this person may like hip hop, or whatever that may be. You started there. Can I am I right in saying
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah.
And how do you find out where to start? Like, how do you find out what they're interested in?
Well, at that time, now it's different. You got to do a little more work. But then I was
Mm-hmm.
interested in the same thing. So it's kind of like
Yeah,
when I was a
yeah,
senior, they were soft. You understand? They were sophomores.
yeah.
So it's
True.
like,
Yes,
but
yes.
um, now it's really about staying in touch with the culture. So I can't teach
Mm-hmm.
you if I can't relate to you, like I said. So it's like I have to find out what Quavo is talking about, or I have to find out what the baby is talking
Yeah,
about, or I have to find out
true,
the Pop Smoke album. I got to listen to this stuff,
true,
whether it's my
true.
preference or not. I still need to follow up on this stuff. A lot of the students that we run into are athletes. Okay, so now we can talk about sports, and
True.
within that, I always try to drop a dime of something that I want you to talk about. So we can talk about what you want to talk about, but here is what I want to talk about, or here is what you need to learn. You hear what
So there's like this yes. So there's this compromise. It's kind of it's a two-way street
I'm
basically. So you're giving a like they say you got to sometimes you got to give a little to get a
hmm
little. So and I think that sometimes, especially with young educators, you get into a classroom and you think that you have to dominate that classroom or you have to dominate that
yeah,
hallway or you got to make an announcement like I'm the
I'm
principal
so
or
Clark.
I'm the yes, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, like, but it sounds like your approach was totally
Mhm.
different. It was more of an approach of like, yo, we seeing eye to eye, and I'm seeing you for who you are and getting to know you,
Mhm.
and then developing a relationship. And someone just put into the chat earlier that connections are important, making a connection, and then moving on from there. And I saw that when you were, you were in that role of safe school security. I don't like calling it security, but it was like safe school person, and the relationships you were developing with young people. And I remember not too long after that, you had reached out to me and you were like, "Oh, Dr. Rawls, I want to go back. I want to finish my degree. I want to be a teacher. I want to, like you had these goals and this
Mhm.
ambition to go that route. And then that's when we kind of picked up in terms of our
Yeah.
relationship. What was it that sparked you where you were like, I want to take it to another level?
Um, I felt I felt that there was something bigger in me. So I saw a lot of things that I would do different, but because of where I was, I couldn't, say
Right.
anything or interject or, go above, certain things like that. So I'm like, all right, every day that I don't progress and try to move up, I'm failing kids. That's not what I want to do. I'm failing my community because I feel like I have something to offer. So it's like, all right, let's get this going. Let's get this going. And the two teachers. Well, I told you you were one, and there was an English teacher named Mr. Bogart. I don't know if you remember Mr. Bogart.
Yeah, man, listen, I had Mr. Bogart when I was in middle
Yeah,
school. So shout out to Mr.
Mr.
Bogart.
Mr.
Yes.
Bogart made Beowulf lit. Like the Canterbury Tales, like all of the stuff. I remember till
Hmm.
this day because of Mr. Bogart, and his instruction was formal but informal at the same time. Like I've never
Yes.
seen it like done like that.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Yes.
wait a minute. I remember one time he came in the classroom with a wave cap on. Oh my god, this
Yeah.
man is bald,
Yeah.
great.
He did.
So
Yeah.
I'm just like he
Yeah.
related to it, like, and till this day, we're friends on Facebook, and we'll holler at each other every now and then. But Mr. Bogart was like one. So I'm like, if I can be a combination of Dr. Rawls and Mr. Bogart,
Mhm.
then I feel like, I'll be, a pretty decent educator in the classroom because Um, where this is 2020 in America, that I had experience from a white teacher and a black
Mm-hmm.
teacher. So I'm like,
Mm.
if I can combine
Mm.
those two, I'll be
Mm,
solid. If I
yeah,
can
true.
do a fraction of
True.
what they do, then I'll be solid. So that was that was great.
That's deep, man.
Oh
That
man.
definitely a salute to Mr. Bogart was ahead of his time,
Man.
right? He was like now we talk a lot about culturally responsive teaching. We talk about making connection with young people. Mr. Bogart was always out to connect with the disconnected
Hmm.
student.
Hmm.
That's how when I was in middle school, I was a rockhead. We had a group of rockheads. Like we was like off the hook.
Hmm.
And I remember he had this program he had started. It was called
VIP.
BBIB. And it's funny,
Yeah. Basic
yes,
belief
because I
in all
still have
people,
my
right?
t-shirt. Yes. Bro, I still have my t-shirt from that. I got my green t-shirt still that I'll always hold on
Yeah.
to. Basic belief in all
Even
people.
then, man, it's
And if
crazy.
yo, he like that, and you know what? That right there, just that alone signifies, who he was. And I remember when I became a principal, he was still teaching. He was at the high
Hmm.
school. And I'll never forget, man, I was having like, it was rough for me because I was a young teacher and then a young principal. I'm coming back and I'm supervising people who like taught me. So they kind of looking at me like, how you are a supervisor. But
Hmm.
anyway, so I remember one time like breaking down with him of like how difficult it was. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And I'll never forget like him like kind of like picking me up like, listen, you got this, and kind of speaking that into
Hmm.
me. And that was something that, he never took out like, outside of there. It was kind of like it was still that relationship in terms of the student and teacher, even after all of those years. So I definitely shout out to Mr. Bogart. It's funny that we have that in
Hmm.
common, man. But I've watched you, man. We've been in some real situations in education. You know what I'm saying? And we won't even mention
Right.
schools, but one thing that has been consistent is this. I have watched you in such a skillful way work with young people. And when we talk about de-escalation, and that's what I want to kind of set you up to start talking about, in terms of getting students who may be on 10 upset, cussing everybody out, like ready to do whatever, um and you being able to de-escalate them and work with them and get them back on track, and I know you had some formal
Mhm.
training in
Yeah.
that. So if you could just kind of talk about that, man.
So, so if I'm say a situation like you said, a situation where a student is on 100 or on 10,
Mm-hmm.
right? There is a reason why he's there, but the reason why he's there or what I want out of him or the goal is not important. The number one thing that I do, listen, don't talk. Let him talk because
Mm.
99% of the time he's going to tell you why he is. So you won't even have to ask any questions. All you have to do is say what happened and sit back. Boom, 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 boom. Get it out. Now, if it's something that I can relate to, even if he's wrong, I need to let
Mm.
this student know, hey, I understand where you're coming from. And
Hold on, man. You drop it like let's back up a little
oh
bit.
man, my bad.
Cause you drop it, you killing it, bro. But I want to take this real slow.
Okay.
The first thing you said was let the student
Hmm.
talk. So that means that you're doing the
Hmm.
listening. Okay? And once they start talking and you're listening, and then from there, you're finding a space where you can relate and identify.
Hmm.
Okay, so if if I'm an educator right now, because I want people to get this, the first thing you did was you said, okay, what's going on? So you allowed the young person to talk. Then you actively listen. You didn't try to talk over. You weren't thinking about what you were going to say. You were listening to what they said. And then you said that you found a spot where you can relate.
Mm-hmm.
And once you did that, how did that continue?
So, I mean, once a student sees that you're listening to them and you're not trying to battle with them, you'll slowly start to see their tone change, their shoulders are relaxed, they're actually realizing who they're talking to. And it's like, hey, you're not against me. Hey, I don't feel like I'm about to get in trouble because I'm angry. Like, like people have a consequence, like, oh, he cussed at a teacher. That's 3 days in school suspension. Or, boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why did he curse at the teacher? Did the teacher disrespect
Mm-hmm.
him? Did he disrespect the
Mm-hmm.
teacher? Or like it's a whole lot of factors that go into it. So it's like if I'm into a situation like that, I can say, okay, well, the teacher, she didn't let me talk or he cut me off. I felt disrespected. Okay. So if a teacher or if a person did that to me, I would feel disrespected too. So I'm not mad at you. But
Wow.
how can we handle that different next time? You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So it's always like a moving forward. That's water under the bridge. But moving forward, that's how behaviors change. Like moving forward, this is what I think you should do next time. Try it. If it doesn't work, it's on me. You can say Miller told me to do this and it didn't work.
And it
I'll take
didn't
the
work.
heat. But after that, after the student and I talk, now I take it a step further and go to that teacher and say, hey, what happened with Johnny? Or
Mm.
boom, 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 boom. Or just to see, well, boom, boom, boom. And I get the teacher's side. And now I can go to
Wow.
Johnny and be like, yo, Johnny, like, she's trying to get a lesson out. I understand, boom, boom, boom. Or it can be the teacher was dead wrong and the student is dead right. So it's a lot of, it's a lot of, you just got to hold everybody accountable. Like right is right and wrong
Yo,
is wrong. Whether you're a
yo,
teacher, counselor, principal,
hold on.
custodian, like it's okay to say sorry to a student.
Listen,
I had to
man,
do it. Like,
yo,
so.
that is so many jewels that you just dropped. Like that body language one,
Mhm.
like hopefully people pick that up. But when you said once you let them talk, once you listen, once you find a space where you can identify, you said, and you're not competing with them or challenging
Mhm.
them. So you ain't going chest to chest at this point. It's like you said, you notice that the shoulders
Mhm.
drop, which a lot of people aren't, especially in education, they're not in tune with little things
Mhm.
like that relaxation. So now when that happens, I'm
Yeah.
in. I got it. I got this. That those are definitely some gems. And I want to get to the other side of that because you said some things that I think are very important and I think that we need to talk through. You got on that teacher side,
Mhm.
right? And you got on that side in terms of the adult or the authority figure. And sometimes the authority figure is wrong. Now, what I'm gonna say is that it's so funny that you said that because over the last 24 hours, I've spent like a lot of time apologizing and speaking through and talking through some things with two students who former students who I was like I needed to do some apologizing. And when I tell you like that that was like heavy, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like and but in a lot of folks they don't want to go there. It's almost like the parent when you're like, I'm always right, or I'm always, and it was like, nah, though. Like when you broke it down the way you broke it down, such and such, my bad, I was
Mhm.
wrong. So, how do we get more adults, and especially teachers and school systems or what have you, to be able to swallow that ego and swallow that pride and be like, yo, man, my bad.
If I don't know, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. Well, I don't work for you. But listen, if a teacher can't swallow their pride, they shouldn't teach because that
Mm,
means that you won't do whatever is, whatever is something you should say. Anything else for the good of the order, right? The good of the
Yeah.
order is for students to be successful and to get an education, whatever way that is. So if it takes just 2 words, my bad. It's not even. I'm sorry, Johnny. I shouldn't have did all of that other. Students don't need to hear that. They don't really care about that. My fault. Boom.
True.
All right, we good. Fist bump them. Boom. All right, we good. I, moving forward, we good. And we good. You see what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. So it's not even necessarily having to rehash it or talk about the behavior or what caused the behavior.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
just like, again,
Yeah.
tomorrow is a new period. Start fresh. They could have just called you the biggest curse word or whatever.
True.
Don't take that personal. If you're taking stuff personal and you're holding on to that, then I would second guess if you're really here for the kids or not. Because
True.
a lot of times, if you're in these types of school districts, some of these students have IEPs, or you don't know where they're coming from. So I
Mm.
remember I had a student. He came in angry. I'm like, bro, what you angry? Like, what's the problem? Early on, what's the problem? Boom, 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 boom. And he's bucking for nothing. I'm like, what's going on? Later to find out, his dad was just like shot the night before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
me, trying to be the adult in the situation, I had to step back and check myself. Like, wait a minute. I couldn't imagine me having to come to school now and learn or be pleasant or be nice
Mm.
just because they're being nice to me, but they don't
Mm.
know what's going on at home. So it's a
Mm.
lot of factors that teachers have to consider when you have these different kids in your classroom. So it's like,
True.
you know, you can't focus or learn if these things are taking place. So it's like you gotta. So a simple "my bad" could change their attitude and get them through the day. You understand? Like I
And then you can, and then you, and see, I think that in, tell me if you agree with what I'm going to say, that a lot of times we have a hard time separating the behavior from the
a
child.
million percent
Like,
yes.
like talk to that. Talk to that. Like how sometimes we get so caught up in the behavior
Hmm.
that that child becomes labeled and like it's
Yeah,
just talk to
I've
that.
seen it. So it's like you know, say this this student don't play no games. That's gonna be a rough student. Oh, really? Why? Because boom, 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 she's gonna let you have it if you boom, 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 depending on her day. And if you're a teacher or a coworker and you're telling me that, so I already can tell what you did wrong. So
Hmm.
now I know to do the exact opposite. You,
Of
you
that.
understand? So I'll ask, like, why? What happened? And then get them to talk. Well, she came in my class and it was very disruptive. Okay, so now that's certain things. Was she involved? Was she bored? Did the
Mm.
lesson apply to her? Was she able to understand what was going on? It's like, you understand what I'm saying? How does
True.
she learn? Like, no kid just comes into class and says, "Hey, I'm going to be bad today, or I'm going to tear this class up today." No, I've never seen it. So it's just
True.
like, are these
True.
students
And
engaged?
it doesn't, that's the good, are they engaged, like are they involved and actively involved in the classroom. And when you said, I just remember there would be days that are horrible, like everything goes wrong. And as educators, it's like we got to go home, put our head on that pillow, reflect, put our head on that pillow, come back the next day and start fresh. Like when we're talking about young people who may have challenges in terms of behavior, and that may be based on IEP, whether they are students with an individualized educational plan, or special education, as some people will know, but they have like reasonable conditions
Oh
that
yeah.
they are experiencing and own that attribute to their behavior. So because they are acting out in a way we can't personalize that as, oh, they're just misbehaving in my class. Like there's some things that they are dealing with and trying to manage
Yeah.
appropriately, you know, within a school setting. So if we as educators, if we're constantly waking up like every morning, like, yo, Dr. Rawls, man, he bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Yo, that's real though. And if you come in with that picture every single day, you're gonna get that.
They can
You
feel it.
know?
They can feel it. They can feel if me as an educator care about them. So
True.
like I remember one day we were working together, and I mean we stayed downstairs in the gym just sitting there for about a good hour, not even going home because the day was
Yeah.
so crazy.
True.
And
True.
once we got home the next morning,
True.
we were in our huddle, our team huddle. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. This is what we're gonna do today. And I mean, I watched that and I observed it, and I'm like, that's how I need to apply what you
Mm-hmm.
did as a leader, because you were the leader of the building, and
Mm-hmm.
your tone set the tone for everyone else. So I'm like, if Doc forgot about it,
Mm-hmm.
I need to forget about it. And it was it was rough, man. And I'm just like, so I came
It,
in, and those particular students, I showed them extra love that day.
true.
Huh? Because that, I mean, a
True.
lot of times, I mean,
True.
hey, come here, man. Boom, boom, boom. And,
Yep.
it'll catch them
They
off
ain't
guard.
expecting that.
Yeah, it'll catch them off guard. So it's like, all right, yeah, nah, we're good, man. We're good. And um, even like engaging them to show them that we're good. So say if there's a lesson or if there are certain things, give them something easy to get them engaged. Because a lot of
Mm.
times, if they have an IEP, they're probably not on level already as it is. So that's
Mm.
probably one reason why they're acting up. But that's another. But if it's like, okay, the title of the story is what, Johnny? Okay, at least they know what.
They can, yeah, they can find that.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
What are we gonna do next? Or boom, 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 or just get them involved. And
True.
a lot of times with that, I wanted to get back to something with like de-escalation. Is like if you can have the students' peers hold them accountable as well,
Mm.
that'll take a lot off of your
Mm.
plate. So it's
Mm.
like force fields, or well, if I have classmates, and I'm talking as a student, if I have classmates that's telling me I'm doing things wrong or how I could have done them better, I'll listen to a classmate
But
before
true.
I will listen to a teacher. So that
True.
if you're a teacher and you can use your classroom to your advantage, I would say, use it.
Mm-hmm.
Set a culture in your classroom to this is the standard, and praise good behavior. If
True.
you're praising good behavior, you don't have to acknowledge the bad behavior that's going on in your classroom. So if this person is talking, wow, I like how quiet you're sitting.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Great job.
Mm-hmm. And it works.
Here's a sticker. Now this kid wants a sticker too.
Yeah, it works. They want
Oh,
that.
looking
They
fun.
want that positive reinforcement
Yeah.
because a lot of these behaviors are attention-seeking behaviors, right? So,
Behavior.
so
Yep.
children, yeah, the young people, they want attention. You brought up, and I think parents need to understand this. And this is one of the things as an educator that I learned, and it helps me even as a parent today, is that before I even had kids, I learned this: the most important group in children's lives, especially pre-teenagers, teenagers, the most important group is their peer group. So that's what they hear, that's who they
Mhm.
hear. They start, like, kids start to turn off adults maybe 12 years old, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? 13 years
Yeah.
old. So, parents out there, no, don't take it personal. If your kids are starting to turn you off at that point, that's why. It's actually age appropriate for them to care more about what their friends and their peers think.
Mhm.
So, you said something that I thought was important. You said if you create a classroom environment where their peers are holding them
Mhm.
accountable, and their peers are giving them feedback, that makes the classroom community function even better.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that, even as teachers, as parents, I think that that's something that we have to be aware of. And it also means getting to know who your children or your child's peers
Mhm.
are. Like you need to have some kind of, understanding of who their peers are, because that's going to help you understand a lot of their
Find out
behaviors.
who the heavy
Yo,
hitter of the
yo,
classroom is. If you can get the heavy hitter to buy in, or the like the leader, because I mean
true.
almost every classroom has one. So it's like if I can get you know Johnny to buy in, and he's the the heavy
Mm-hmm.
hitter of
Mm-hmm.
the classroom, or the student that the classroom follows or watches his lead, then that's the first person I'm gonna want to maybe give him a job, hand out the papers, or boom, boom, boom.
True.
Just do certain things to get him involved. Now, oh wow. So if they have a relationship, well, I want to be like this student, my peer. So let's all follow
True.
along. Or hey, maybe
You're
Miller ain't
gonna
so
follow.
bad.
True.
So that's what I would do.
True.
That's what I did.
Listen, man, I've had the opportunity, like I said, over the last, man, shoot, it's like 15 years. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That you and I have been somehow connected in this whole education world, and you're one of those educators who, wherever I'm at, I'm like, yo, bro, you trying to come? Because, and the reason why is because, we see eye to eye on a lot of things in terms of philosophy, in terms of, how to treat young people. One of the stories that I want to get out there and is that I remember, not too long ago, I was in a classroom and I was working with some young people, and let it be, if people were defining this situation, they would be like, yo, these kids are the toughest kids in the
Mhm.
school, right? So I'm working with them, I'm talking to them, and out of nowhere, I was like, yo, like what, what's good? Like what is it that motivates you, right? Like what are you on fire about? So they start talking about hip hop music, right?
Mhm.
So I share some stories about, hip hop and, my love for hip hop, this, that, and the other, meeting certain artists, things like that, having a roommate who was an A&R, a bad boy, I went into
Mhm.
that. So I opened up about me. Yo, the student went in and said, he was like, yeah, man, I'm an MC, I rap. So I was like, word, So he was like, yeah. So I was like, well, you ever been in the studio? The next words was, well, Mr. Miller said, if I behave, if I do what I'm supposed to do in
Mhm.
school, he gonna bring us to his
Mhm.
studio. And like I didn't know that. Like you didn't share that
Right.
with
Right.
me.
Right.
And I was like, yo, my smile, like it's like this. I
Mhm.
was like, yo, word. But talk to that man, and like, how, we gotta use those kind of motivators to reach young people.
So back when when I was coming up, for us it was sports. That has opened up to music now. So again, music is such a key part in learning, and I feel like a lot of educators don't understand that.
True.
You got to incorporate music. Music is the culture. Like that's what the students can relate to. So like those particular students, like you said, heavy hitters of the building.
True.
Period. And
True.
it's like when I found out, um, they they were playing it on their phone, and I'm like, oh shoot, all right. Well, I would do that. Like, and they were like, "What you mean?" I was like, "I said you didn't record that at a studio. I said you did that in your room."
Wow.
He was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I know." And then I was like, "You didn't use them, like you just." So I was like calling out what they could have did,
True.
and I'm like, he was like, "Well, how you know that?" I was like, "It's a lot you don't know about me, son." So then, so I told him I was like, I got a studio." They was like, "You do?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Mm.
So I had to do like the whole Google. I was like, you could Google it. Just like
Uh-huh.
like little stuff like that, having fun with
Yeah.
them. I'm gonna
Yeah.
Google it. And I just so happen to be sitting in the studio now. But they were like, oh, bro, by lunch, when I walked into the
Mm.
cafeteria to get my food, at least 15 people said, because they were probably like snapping or
yeah,
DMing people
yeah,
like, "Yo, Miller
yeah,
got a studio.
yeah,
It is fire."
yeah,
Like, "Yo, it's
yeah,
put in there, boom, 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 just from pictures."
yeah.
So one of the motivators were heavy hitter. I said, if you can bring this grade up in this class, I'll give you free studio time.
Mm,
So it's like that was me kind of doing my part. The In a
true,
perfect world, I would love to have like not just instrumental music, but like go with the times, music
true,
production. You know
true,
what? How can these kids be
true,
occupied?
true,
So
true.
certain things like that.
Like,
That was
like having that, like music production as a course
mhm.
in schools. Like to bring in someone such as yourself, who has a production background and open up a whole course
Mhm.
for music production. And I think that is more of what we need, and because we're not being responsive to the things that our young people are into, you know. And you know what's funny? Here's what I'm gonna say. I feel like if we started something like music production, right? And students they got into the studio, they start working on beat machines or whatever. They start understanding that. Before you know it, they're gonna start having an ear for instruments, right? So now, all of a sudden, that instrumental course is gonna make
A
more
whole lot
sense
more
to them.
sense. A flute sound will be dope to them because I was
Yes,
able to put a flute in my like one of the
yes,
videos where I'm showing my age, but Teddy Riley in the in the Shake Your Rump video was with a saxophone.
yes,
These kids today probably
yes,
wouldn't pick up a saxophone.
yes,
But if they
yes.
saw a saxophone and could program that into a song and just relate it, like, hey, this is
Yo,
that. Oh man, I want to learn how to play that.
yo,
Yeah, like
yo, that like Ant man, I like you and I. We could talk for
yeah,
hours,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Like it's funny because this whole we've gone from working talking straight up clinical language in terms of managing behavior. You've gone from that, and you've talked about that, how to skillfully de escalate young people, how to use language to de escalate, how to understand body language, how to develop relationships, all the way to hip hop production. And it's like you're a brilliant educator, man. And
Thank
and and I have you on such a high pedestal in terms
wow.
of serving young people and educating, young people, man. Like you are definitely the truth.
Oh man,
You know,
thanks, bro.
like and that's real talk. And I think, and that's why I wanted to do this kind of show, and because I think sometimes people see certain people, and we see them every day, and we don't realize, like, the brilliance in
Mm,
people, and you are definitely one of those
wow.
folks. And now hopefully there's people who hear this, there's people who see this, and they can see you as a resource. They could see you as, all right, you know what, my son's having, challenges here, or, my daughter's having challenges here. Maybe I can reach out, to Mr. Miller, because
Absolutely.
we didn't even have time. We didn't even get into, that's why you're going to need a part two, because we didn't even get into the whole autism and the autistic
Oh
spectrum
yeah.
and how you've worked with children. I know you've gone into homes and worked with those
Hmm.
young
Hmm.
people and their
Hmm.
families. Like, I feel bad that we didn't even get into that
Oh
in this
man.
hour.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you would agree to come back,
Absolutely.
you know, and be, and be on the show. Let me, I like to do this because I always like to get this question in, and sometimes I forget it, sometimes I don't get it in, but I want to get it in before we begin to close out. I always like to have advice for your high school self. So I like to, like, I'm big on, like, all right, if you can give some advice to Anthony as a high school student, what would that advice be? Like now that you up there in age, as you know, Big June has already called us old
Yeah.
heads. Like now. But what kind of advice would you give your younger self?
Uh, whew, I would so much. No, the main thing for me, I would say, if I were to talk to younger me, I would find a way. I would find a way to have my schoolwork or my grades relatable, like monetizing it. So like having
Mm,
grades represent financial freedom as an adult. If like you
okay,
see what I'm saying? So like
okay,
it's like, yeah, C student, B minus student, but hey, if I'm getting A's, didn't mean that much then or getting, but now if I found a way to be motivated about that, it would have been ball game. You understand what I'm saying?
wow,
So it's like,
wow. So you're basically saying like if we had to take the economy of grades
mhm,
and match it to our economic, situation or economy as, here in America,
mhm.
your grades, like if you got F's, that would equal like poverty
Homeless or yep.
or homeless.
Hmm. So,
And then break it down like that way.
mhm.
I like that.
All right.
I like that.
Yeah.
So that's what you would go there. You would go
Mhm.
to like, yo, match it all up to so if someone would have sat you down and talked to you like that
This is
as like a
money.
young
This
person.
is this is money because I feel like schoolwork is work. Like if I'm going to work every day, at the end of the day, I want a paycheck,
Mm,
right? So it's like
mm,
uh in school, a paycheck is an A, but if it's an A, we know it's an A, but I didn't realize how important those A's would have been now that I'm trying to get other students to get A's because of it. You
true.
see what I'm saying? So it's like,
True. It changes the whole
oh man,
game.
if I would have monetized it 20 years ago, 25, whatever. I
But
mean,
but that's what, and not to go on and on, but when I was talking to that student and he told me that his behavior was going to earn him studio time, he couldn't he couldn't talk about anybody else's behavior modification plan
mhm.
but yours. Like he couldn't tell me like, well, if I do this in this class, blah blah blah. He was like, yo, Mr. Miller said, if I bring my grade up in this class, I'm getting studio time. And that was like his
Mhm.
economy. So that was important. And we know studio time is money. So it does equate
55
to
an
to
hour,
you
my
know
brother.
to that whole economic.
Yeah, yeah.
That man, and you are definitely family to the show. I'm so thankful that you agreed to come
Oh yeah.
on and taking time. I know you're a family
Hmm.
man, taking time away from your family to come onto the show and to speak. There's so many things that we didn't even get to, that you're about and the things that you do. I'm happy that I know who you are, and I'm happy that I know what you're about because you have no idea how much I've learned from you.
Wow.
So I just want to thank you, man, for coming on to the
Anytime.
show and for being the kind of brother that you are and being an educator that you are, for our young folks. So we appreciate you here at Purpose and Practice, and definitely a big shout out to everyone who was in the chat tonight. You had a lot of love. You
All
know what I'm saying? A
right.
lot of people showing you love,
Yeah.
man. And we definitely appreciate those folks because those are the folks, we stand on those shoulders. You know what I'm saying? Like we couldn't be who we are without folks
Yeah.
like them who are behind supporting us. So definitely a shout out to them. Um, We appreciate you, and we appreciate you, Mr. Miller. Let me call you Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, we we appreciate you, man, and keep doing your thing. Stay safe, you and your family, man. And we'll see you around. We're gonna definitely have you on for a part two.
Definitely.
You know, you definitely deserve a second
All right.
episode, fam.
And anybody out there listening, any advice, or if you have students who need help, or just request me. If we're not friends, just follow me or whatever. Like if I
That's
can
what's up.
help, I will. That's it.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. And I will be in touch with you,
All right,
fam.
brother.
So, to all of our folks out there, Purpose and Practice, another episode in the books. I can't believe this is episode 6 in the books. Tomorrow, it's a must tune in. We got another brother I consider a brother, Mr. Morrison, who is an English teacher. He's going to join the show tomorrow. And I'm sure we're going to get into some deep discussions with him, just like we did tonight. I look forward to that show tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Please join back so that you can hear some messages from Mr. Morrison. With that said, peace out to everyone. Be safe and take care. And we'll see y'all next time.